going back to your story, Michelle, you talked about the vegetarian asking you the vegan asking you as a vegetarian, do you know about dairy? And you said yes. Was that just before the second time that you went vegan, or the first one?
Oh, no, this was the second time. So this was the beginning of 2016.
Okay, so would it be true? Well, would it be true then to kind of perhaps talk about the other concept we had in mind, which is, were you then suffering from cognitive dissonance there? I mean, what was it? Was it actually creating stress within you at the time? Because you actually said to the vegan, well, yeah, I do know about that.
No, well, it was once she brought the subject up, it did, absolutely. It made me feel really, really uncomfortable and really confused,
But until then, it wouldn't be the case that you felt stress over it then. See, what I'm driving at is that I got this feeling, and I'm really interested in exploring this. I think our movement is using this phrase, this concept of cognitive dissonance wrongly, I think. And I think there's a lot of interesting sociology to do with it, and the ideology of animal welfare and everything, because it seems to me that you have to hold a couple of contradictory ideas and beliefs, which causes stress.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people think that when they say, well, I'm against cruelty to a dog, but I will eat bacon, that causes that stress. And of course, it doesn't. There's no stress. Holding those two positions in a culture of speciesism doesn't hold any stress whatsoever.
No, I don't think it does. I think only if you are directly confronted by it, I think or if you're feeling guilty about it already, then it creates discomfort, and it creates a horrible feeling that I think is dissonance. But no, for many, many years. So I'd say maybe the first 6 months, or even the first year, I felt guilty. Every time I ate a chocolate bar, I felt guilty. And I knew what I was doing was wrong. And then it just became, the wall was up. I didn't need to think about it anymore. And because I lived in a family of meat eaters, everybody around me was eating meat. I was just the vegetarian. Well, I was slightly easier to live with. Now I was eating cheese, right? Because I wasn't telling them that they were all murderers anymore. Now, why wasn't I doing that? Well, because I was doing it myself. But no, I didn't feel any stress whatsoever. I didn't feel stress at all.
It's interesting because the guilt comes from being an ex-vegan in your case, which is quite interesting. I mean, this is really interesting to me because Alex O'Connor, who's known as a cosmic skeptic, so he looked at cognitive dissonance, and he's got a film saying the absolute worst of CD, and he's talking about holding two inconsistent views. And said, if you hold the belief that something is wrong and yet justify doing it, or something just like it, despite simultaneously knowing that you shouldn't, you're suffering from CD. But I don't think that quite fits what's going, because he was using an example of if you're against people kicking a dog, but then you eat bacon, you're suffering from CD. And I don't think that's actually true, because I think that people within a culture of speciesism, which is very deeply socialized and transmitted generationally, I don't think they see the connection between those two things at all. And so they think, well, I'm opposed to the cruelty here, but I'm also in favor of, I don't think it works that way.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you we've been brought up to believe that some animals are there to be loved, so dogs, cats, hamsters.
That's right.
And then
that's how we use them.
Are there to be food, and What would they be if they weren't food? They wouldn't have a purpose if they weren't food. So they are completely different categories. So, you know, it's almost like saying, well, it's almost like saying, well, you know, I'm not gonna take a sheep and dress a sheep up and put a little bow on a sheep, because that's not the animal that I'm meant to love. This is the animal I'm meant to love. This doggy that I can dress up and put a bow on. You know, so this is a sheep, and this sheep is my dinner eventually. So no, there's no dissonance there between.
I mean, it's interesting for me because one of the reasons why I'm a rights-based animal rights person is because rights is a critique of use, and I think this gets to the heart of it. Like you said, people orientate towards other animals in regard to what their purpose is. You often get farmers doing that. Well, that's what their purpose is. But I think that's across the board. It's about animal use. So pets, you know, animal companions, they're used as pets. And there's a whole set of criteria to using certain other animals as pets. There's a historian called Keith Thomas. He talks about privileged species. They get to be used as pets. And then there's others who get to be used as if they're food. But like you say, it's like a functional thing. Kind of like, well, what is their function? Okay. And so I don't think that when you're talking about two disparate types of function that people are kind of putting them together. I think that what the vegan movement wants to do is to suggest to people you should make those connections, and therefore you should feel cognitive dissonance. What we tend to do is assume that they do, and I think that's wrong. I don't think they do. I think that's what we want them to do with the information that we give them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, it's interesting from my perspective, because there's no way in the world that anybody would have got me to eat beef. So in all of the years I was vegetarian, there is no way in the world they'd have had to give me like 10 million pounds for me to agree to eat a slice of beef, and even then I'd gag and probably not be able to put it in my mouth. But
vegans should do that, you know, Michelle. You know the vegan strategist says that if you get paid enough, you should eat the animal flesh in order to use the money for animal rights. You know, anyway.
I think everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a price. So
I don't know.
It would have to be a high sum. It would be a high sum, but I would agree at a certain price to eat a slice of beef. Anyway, there's no way anybody would have got me to do that. But yeah, I would happily drink a glass of milk. So, and I had no guilt over it. Not once I'd got that wall up, I had no guilt over it. It was there. It was absolutely there. And it took like a major trauma in my family in 2014 for me to recognize it was there. And then it took me another, 18 months to, at that time, I was starting to feel the guilt. The guilt was back. Every time I drank milk or ate chocolate, the guilt was back, and I knew it was back. So I think my friend Tara just sitting down and in the work canteen and speaking to me whilst I was actually eating a cheese sandwich, which I did not finish, by the way, and said, "You do know about dairy, don't you?"